Okay, somebody had asked after I did my caboose video that they wanted to know more about our boxcar. Here I've got a 1919 40-foot wooden boxcar built originally for the Maine Central Railroad in 1919. It holds about 100,000 pounds. It runs on friction style bearings, which means you've maybe seen these in movies, and but this kind of shows the car. I think most roads don't even allow this style of bearing on a boxcar anymore. Now this car is primarily built out of yellow pine, although it does have a sub-steel frame, does have steel along the sides. It was used in interchange service, so only God knows where this train is, where this boxcar has been in the world. Probably all over the U.S. and Canada. Inside we have, you can see all the wood boarding, and we have a plastic here because this yellow pine just loves to give people splinters, so we kind of protect the public like that. Let's get your typical brakes here. In 1960 it was retired from freight service and it was converted to a maintenance of way car, which is why this car is still in existence today, because most of its cars that were just like it were retired and scrapped at that point for, you know, better, longer cars. So this was used for maintenance of service or maintenance of way for the railroad, and then eventually I think around in the 1980s it was, you know, actually retired. A little bit more about these friction bearings. How they operate is pretty simple. You've got a bearing surface up here, and then you have the wheel, the axle of the truck. So as this car was going, this would be turning here. And in this box here you'd have oily rags, and you can see that there's oily rags right along the bottom there, and the oily rag helps keep it lubricated. Now it sounds like a great idea, and it's actually pretty efficient, and especially if you wanted to, say, remove this axle from the truck. You can just essentially lift the truck right up and the wheels remain there on the tracks. The only problem is these would tend to get hot, they'd catch fire, you'd see smoke, so they were eventually replaced in the 1960s with what they call a roller bearing, which is very similar to what today's cars have. And as you can see, here's the large wheel of it, and there we have a brake shoe. Well, we start with our air connection right here, and we've got our knuckle right there. Here's a handle that you could actually pull, and what that would do is lift up the little pin right there and actually release the coupling, so that would actually separate the boxcar, so you wouldn't have to get between the locomotive and the boxcar if you wanted to separate the two. Now, as we saw way up here, there's that brake wheel, and it comes down to the shaft right here, and then you see it next to a chain, and this is a mechanical brake. What we can do is we can actually pull on that chain. It's going to wrap around this pole here, and it's going to physically squeeze a brake shoe against the wheel. So it's actually going to mechanically lock the car. We don't have to rely on the train air system or anything along those lines. It's a mechanical connection that's actually going to seize the brake up for us. Underneath the car, we're in the middle of it right now. Primarily what we have are levers, and there's an air pipe in here for the braking system. And these levers go right into this box here, and I'm zoomed in a little bit. I guess I'm not. I'll back up a little bit. What we have is a large brake device here. It operates off the air pressure of the train, and when it senses a decrease in line pressure, this essentially is a big air tank. When it sees that there is a drop in air pressure, it actually actuates the brakes. So it's a kind of a complicated system. I won't really describe it well here, but long story short, this is what actually operates the brakes on the car, and you can see one of the levers here, and it's got some adjustments in play for it. But this would actually actuate, you know, the truck on the right, and there's another lever on the other end that would actually operate that truck there, so that both wheels on each truck, so that's a total of 4 axles, would actually help stop this train. And here we see some of the pneumatics. There's the air pipe right there. It comes through here. We've got some valves here, probably a water separator, something along those lines, that comes up right here to this large air tank. And then we have the same levers as we did on the other side, the mechanical linkages to the brakes on the other truck of the car. While we're down here, I just also wanted to show you the frame of the car, since it's pretty big. It's got some substantial steel that's underneath this car, because you figure the pulling on this car, if this is the first car right after the engines and there's a train a mile long, all that force has to go through this car here. So while a majority of the car is built of wood, and you can see the wood floor right there, all that pulling force has to come through this car. So the frames on these box cars and any car on the train had to be pretty strong. So that's it. That's a general tour of the boxcar. She's one of 25,000 that were approved to be built by the Railroad Administration for World War I. And distributed to 22 railroads. Only can't imagine that there are many of these alive today, but this one's here in the museum, climate controlled, on display. People can crawl inside, watch a train movie if they so desire, and it's here at the Coal Line Transportation Museum. So If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to ask or comment. Thanks.